Alright guys, we're going to talk about functions and the graphs of functions. You should be able to graph all of these by the end of the video. Go ahead and write it on a piece of paper, half a piece of paper. Give it to me when you come in. Graphs don't have to look 100% beautiful, but they can't be 100% ugly, okay? So, a function is something that usually starts with f of x. So this is my output, or my range, which used to be called y. So it says f of x equals x. Two ways that I can do this. Number one, I can be super smart and know them all. Number two, I can make a t-chart. With my t-chart, I always want to put a negative value in here. I like to go -5, and then I like to go -1, and then I like to go 0, and then 1 and 5. So these are always the same. I get to pick those numbers. It's up to you what numbers you use, but definitely use negatives, 0, and positives, all three of them, okay? We plug these in to the function for x, and we see what the output is. These are our inputs. We see what the output is. So it tells me it equals just plain x. So when I plug in a -5, this equals -5. When I plug in a -1, this equals -1. When I plug in a 0, this equals 0. When I plug in a 1, this equals 1. When I plug in a 5, this equals 5. Now I can graph out those points. So -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a point right here. -1, -1, point right here. 0, 0, point right here. 1, 1, point right here. 5, 5, point right here. And then I just connect them. I do my best to connect them. And I put arrows on the end because it keeps going forever. So that's f of x equals x. If I give x squared, I can do the exact same thing. So I'm going to go, I'm going to use the same values. I'm going to use -5, -1, 0, 1, and 5. If I go -5 squared, -5 times -5 is 25. -1 squared, -1 times -1 is 1. 0 times 0 is 0. 1 times 1 is 1. 5 times 5 is 25. Now those are really big numbers. But I know 0, 0 is right here. I know that 1, 1 is right here. I know that -1, 1 is right here. 5, 25 is way up here. -5, 25 is way up here. And so I'm going to connect these guys. So I'm going to go like that. Okay? Next one, f of x equals x cubed. T-chart. You guys are going to be really mad at me when I do this one. -5 times -5 times -5 is -125. -1 times -1 times -1 is -1. 0 times 0 times 0 is 0. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. So now I got some really big numbers. But 0, 0 is right here. -1, -1 is right here. 1, 1 is right here. So they look like they're in a line. But when I go to -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's way down here. Like so far off the page I can't even see it. Way, 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 way down here. And if I do it the other way, it's way up here, which makes my graph look like so I'm just gonna zoom in on this part. Whoa, my camera's falling. It's just kind of like that for a cube root. Okay? Can't get it to balance. There we go. All right. Do the same thing for the last two. You should be fine. If you have any questions, we'll talk a little bit more about it in class tomorrow, and we'll talk about some more confusing stuff tomorrow as well.